Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sister, how are you?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Very well, thank you. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, good. Thank you very much, Sister, for joining us today on the Niqabi Diaries. Sister, could you please introduce yourself for us and tell us a bit about what you do?
Okay, my name is Peter Stewart, or my name after I became Muslim is Mastura, but I still go legally by my original name. What do I do? I'm studying. I'm an online student, so I'm still studying even in the lockdown.
Alhamdulillah. What are you studying?
I'm studying digital design.
Okay.
And then I do some part-time work. So I'm not just studying part-time and part-time work. I have 2 children I'm looking after at home, and I used to teach people how to drive. Ladies here, I'm living in Saudi. So
in Saudi.
I'm living in Saudi Arabia, so I'm helping ladies to get on the road.
Oh right. So have they changed the rules now? I'm a bit behind.
Yeah, you're about a year behind.
Okay, alhamdulillah. Okay.
Ladies have been driving over here for 1 year.
Okay, alhamdulillah, that's good.
They've opened the system. They've set up a few schools around the place, but those schools are packed. So I'm just doing freelance.
Okay.
Freelance, teaching people to drive. Just casual jobs, picking up work here and there.
Great, cool. Okay, sister. So you mentioned that you have obviously you have a Muslim name, so that means that you must be a revert. So could you let us know a little bit about how you came to Islam?
It's a really long story, but I'll try to keep it as brief as I can.
Well, take your time as much. Just make sure you give us all the juicy bits, inshallah.
Okay, well, if you feel that I'm missing out on any juicy bits, please feel free to ask. Okay, well, I suppose, I used to be an atheist. In my childhood, I grew up with my parents as an atheist. When I was very young, my grandparents were Christian, so they encouraged me. They encouraged me to attend church with them. I used to go to church with them. I learned about the stories of the Prophet. But then when I grew up, I went into the church, and they tried to say that Jesus was God, and in my heart I rejected that. And then they were reading from the Bible and then explaining the verses, and I felt in my heart that they were changing the meanings. So I left the church. I didn't go back. My parents said there's no God, so I just lived my life as though there was no God.
So how old was you?
I would have been about 10 years old.
Okay.
Going to the church, approximately. And then so, most of my life I lived, not believing in God, not really thinking about it too much, until one day I was working as a manager for a hotel. I've worked in many hotels in the alcohol industry. And one day I was riding my motorbike on the way to work, and I was speeding. The policeman, gave me a fine, pulled me over. I was a bit upset about that. On the way to, after arriving at work, at about lunchtime, I had to go and do the banking. So I jumped on my bike to go and do the banking, and then I remembered my ticket. And then on the way, I slowed down after remembering my ticket, and just about 2 seconds after slowing down, this car pulled out over a double lane, crossed my path, and missed me by about an inch. I ended up slamming on my brakes, doing an emergency brake until I was actually stand still in the middle of the road on my bike. I was very shocked and shaken up from the incident. And then I started to think, if I didn't get that fine in the morning, I would have been dead that day. So I started to think, that there's something out there protecting me. After some time, I traveled, and I met some people, asked some questions. And, but all this time, I just had this feeling that there was something protecting me. So that made me, look into, different religions and different beliefs. I didn't know too much about, Islam.
So you'd never met any Muslims?
I remember a couple of incidents from my past before traveling. I remember seeing a lady and thinking, why she got that thing on her head? And I used to work as a checkout before I was started in the hotels. I used to work as a checkout chick in Woolworths, one of the supermarkets there. And then one guy, he came through. I'm a very friendly person, so I expect, the people facing me to be very friendly as well. And one guy came through this checkout, and he just kept looking down, and he didn't greet me, and he didn't talk to me, and I thought he was really strange. Afterwards, looking back, I see that he was just being really respectful to me. But I didn't know anything about Islam, so then I travelled. At the first time I was introduced to Islam, I was working for a disabled gentleman, and he was reading a book. And I asked him, what are you reading? Just for conversation. So he told me that he was reading about this book where this Iraqi woman was bashed by her husband.
Oh, domestic abuse.
Said, and he said, oh, she's a Muslim. And I said, what's that? I didn't know what a Muslim was. And he said, her religion is Islam. That didn't teach me anything. I said, what's that? So we took out the encyclopedia, and it said that there was this man, Muhammad, who wrote a book and started, and he began this religion. And so I thought, now forgive me, I thought, this crazy guy, I'm going to go and write my own book, which of course I never did. And then later on, I travelled again to another area, and then some gentleman, he's talking about Islam, and he's saying, oh, those Muslim men, they can marry 4 wives. So I don't know anything about Islam at this stage, except that Muslim men seem to bash their women and marry 4 of them.
Wow.
So I kept travelling. I travelled through Malaysia and Indonesia. While travelling through Malaysia and Indonesia, of course, I'm being Muslim countries, I'm exposed more and more to Islam. They don't eat pork. They don't drink alcohol. They're covering, some of them. And I kept travelling. Anyway, I travelled to this place. It was a beautiful place, Danatoba. Spent some time there with some friends, and then left by myself and made my way back to the Malaysian airport where I flew in from Australia. Made my way back to the Malaysian airport. By the time I got there, I was down to $20.
Right.
And then I think I have got no money, got to go home. I can get help when I'm back in Australia because of the social security system over there. So I tried to change my ticket, and the lady at the counter, she said, your next flight is going to be in 4 days.
Wow.
$20 in 4 days. That's not going to help me at all. So I said, okay, the next city, any city in Australia. She said, okay, there's one leaving today. I said, yes, I want it. She said, that will be an extra $100, thank you. I begged her.
Wow.
I literally begged her, but she would have none of it. I had nothing else to do. Let's go and find a seat for 4 days. $20. I thought, I was doing my calculations. Okay, that's maybe coffee and some brownies from McDonald's once every day, and I can fill up with water in the bathroom. Okay, I'm going to survive, no problem. I won't die. Well, anyway, so I made my way out to the waiting area, and funnily enough, there was another lady that was also out there, and she was also stranded. Her situation was worse than mine, though. She had no money, no friends. She'd been kicked out of the house by her husband. But it was really strange that I saw these workers bringing her food, and after a day, they found her work, they found her house, they set her up.
Oh, wow,
so I thought, okay, this is from God. This is from God. I had started believing in God by that stage, so I saw that this was from God, and He's protecting her, and He'll protect me. And then I think after staying there for one night, I met somebody, and he said, come along, I'll help you out. And then he took me back to his friend's apartment. And so I spent some time there in Malaysia, and I learned a little bit of Islam off them, but they weren't practicing Muslim.
Yeah.
And they were more interested in what I was doing than what they were doing. But one thing that really intrigued me was that they said that God is one. And now I had always rejected from the beginning. I have rejected worshipping anything or anyone except God. To me, God is, He's great and He's the creator, and nobody within this creation could possibly be, God. So that He said that, it really stuck with me. Yeah, one God. Yeah, that's right. And then He also explained about the prayer and but they don't pray, and different aspects of the religion which they weren't really applying. So I ended up staying there for some time. They invited me to stay, so I stayed for a while, but then I moved on. After that. I found an apartment as a lady. By this stage, I was really, I forgot about my dream at the airport. To go back and start again. My dream, while I was at the airport, I was sleeping at the airport, I saw a dream of myself, a vision. I saw myself wearing a scarf and speaking a different language.
SubhanAllah.
I understood that that was a message from God. That's what I thought, that this is a message from God, that He wants me to become Muslim. So I took that as guidance and took it from there. So I started asking people about becoming Muslim. This lady, I stayed in this apartment with this lady and some other people, and she was a Christian that had become Muslim, so she's telling me about this course that she did. So I said, I'm not really interested in the course, I just want to become Muslim.
So all this time you're still in Malaysia?
In Malaysia. I stayed in Malaysia for about 8 months altogether.
Wow. So after wanting to go back to Australia and waiting for that 4-day flight, SubhanAllah.
Yeah, no, I ended up staying. In the meantime, I had asked my father to send me some money. So I was able to, make my way around. And then what happened? Yes, so I was staying in the apartment with her. She was showing me all these movies, Jesus of Nazareth, and all the women in there were wearing scarves like the Muslims. That was really interesting. I had also met one gentleman in a restaurant, talking to him about Islam, and he said, if you need help converting, let me know. And so one day I went back and I spoke to him and said, I want to become Muslim. And then he arranged for me, and we went to, there was an aqiqah. There was an aqiqah, and at the aqiqah there was a huge gathering of maybe about 100 people. And a sheikh was invited. The sheikh came up, shaved the baby's head, gave it some tamar, some date, and read some dua, and then called me forward and asked me to, informed me about the 6 pillars of Iman, the 5 pillars of Islam. I'm agreeing with most of it. Yes, no, okay, maybe, yeah, no problem, because my knowledge was so limited. And then he said, okay, I took the Shahada with him. And then he said, okay, what name would you like? So I had been out in town before with some friends, and they said Masura. I said Mastura. He kept correcting me. Turns out that he knew things which I didn't. So I accepted the name that he gave me, and I'm still very happy with it until this day. And then I was so happy. I wanted to thank this man in the that had arranged for me to come. So I went to go and give him a big hug. So, he saw what was happening. So he knowingly intercepted me and encouraged me to go and greet the woman. And by that time I had realised, okay, yeah, that's the men's section. That's the women's section. I'm a woman, I should go with the women.
Yeah.
So that was one of my funny moments.
Yeah.
And they were really great. They gave me a translation of the Quran and some clothes, things to get me going. Went and took my ablution, gave me hijab, and I started wearing hijab, just covering my hair from that day, and it was amazing. And I've been learning. I knew absolutely nothing in the beginning, but the more I'm still learning today, and the more I learn, the more I love my religion.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. It's beautiful, isn't it? SubhanAllah. So when you started wearing the hijab, the headscarf, like how did that feel in the beginning?
Oh, I cried. I was so happy. I felt
Alhamdulillah.
that it was just such, it was such a merciful thing. I had spent my whole life half naked, let's say. And, it really disturbed me. Most of the time, I would wear baggy pants and a baggy top, and because I just don't want people staring at me. I just want to feel, I want freedom. I don't want this harassment. It's really strange. And I remember thinking, even before I became Muslim, like I was wearing a short dress one time, and there's this old man who's just staring at me, and disgusting the way he was staring at me. And I'm thinking, is this what God wants? Like, does God like for me to wear these types of clothes? I had asked myself all these questions about, drinking, smoking, drugs, clothes. So when I wore the hijab the first day, even though I was in Malaysia, I felt I wasn't being stared at. I felt it was like I can't really explain it, but it's like a type of freedom. I had this freedom now. Before, like, the eyes were on you, the pressure's on you, everything, and now I had this freedom, and I felt that it was so merciful that I just cried. I just cried because I felt this mercy in me, and I've been grateful ever since. That not a day has gone past that I haven't worn the hijab since then.
SubhanAllah. So from the hijab, how did you transition into wearing the niqab then?
Yeah, okay, so being in Malaysia, and I suppose some of the people that I was connected to, I found lots of people like questioning and asking me and encouraging to wear the niqab. Some people saying you have to, some people saying it's obligatory, and some people saying no, don't do it. So I found all of this conflict, and as a new Muslim, it's quite, not just with regard to the niqab, but many issues. You have people, I'm following this sheikh, I'm following this person, I'm following this person. Well, what are you talking about? I just want to follow my messenger. God's
SubhanAllah.
I just want to follow God's messenger. I don't want to follow, like this person, because, like, God sent his messenger for me to follow. That's enough for me. So, and alhamdulillah, I moved in also with people who were very knowledgeable. So I was able to ask questions and get sound knowledge on many
alhamdulillah.
issues. So this is one of the issues. So I tried to wear the niqab, several times. Before actually making a firm commitment, because it wasn't based on knowledge. It was just based on, hearing what people say without really looking into the issue myself. So, and then after I came back to Australia, after about 8 months, my parents, of course, were very shocked that I became Muslim. And then after about a year, after doing lots of research and asking lots of questions, I decided that wearing the niqab was the preferable thing to do. Why? Because I'm a female, and Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he's not a female. So while I can take many of the religious guidance from him, there are some female matters which I need to look to, females to learn my religion. So who is the best, if I, to what extent do I want to practice my religion? I should look to, the closest and best people that were with him, and they were his wives. And they all covered their face. And many of the scholars also, they bring the 2 verses where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling the wives of the messenger and the believers to cover themselves. So how can that not be, one thing for the wives and one thing for the believers? And another thing is that we have sometimes in us jealousy. Jealousy for someone that is better than us. Now, I'm not a good person. I'm not, I have many mistakes. I'm very weak in many areas. But sometimes Allah gives us strength in an area. So, like, this is just one thing that I love to do, and I feel that, like, it draws me closer, and I've found so many benefits after. So seeing that the wives of the messenger and the closest believers around at that time, they were all covering their face. So I feel that, this, in the beginning, I felt that this is something that, like, I really want to do, because I want to try to be as close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and what He loves as possible. And later on, I also adopted the opinion that it actually is obligatory according to a woman's circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say a new Muslim should cover her face. I believe that she has to live in circumstances, according to her environment, and women need to go out and work and live in that environment. However, if somebody is married and there is no, restrictions for them, then yeah, I do believe that women should cover their face.
Alhamdulillah. So did you find it easy to wear it based on what you said? I mean, how did your parents take it when you moved back to Australia and you did your year's worth of research and everything? When you started covering your face, how was that for your parents?
Yeah, well, I was in Australia at the time when I decided to cover my face.
Mm-hmm.
And no, it wasn't very easy for my parents. My mother cried. She said, I've lost my daughter. So that was it. My covering my face meant I was dead to her.
Oh.
She's I've been Muslim many years now. She has changed over the years and matured.
Alhamdulillah.
And accepting, that people choose to follow different paths. So, she's wonderful now.
Alhamdulillah.
Sometimes my family ridicule me, of course. People in society ridicule me. I have my. I know in the society that I live in, when I'm in Australia, that it's accepted. When I'm here in Saudi Arabia, nobody looks the other way.
Yeah.
But when I'm in Australia, it is something strange. They're not used to seeing that. Okay? I don't blame them for that, and they don't have knowledge. It's only their reaction is based on ignorance.
Yeah.
I only had one really bad incident. One day I forgot to say my dua when leaving the house. And I was with my mum, and we went to the local supermarket, and one lady, she came up, and she was a mother of 3 children. Her children were right next to her. She's a Christian. She sends them to a private Christian school. She sends them to a private Christian school, paying excessive amounts of money for their education. So I was very shocked by her behaviour. She came up to me swearing, carrying on, telling me to go back to my own country. The script. It seems to be a script. I was really shocked that she was behaving like that in front of her young children.
Wow, terrible manners.
Of a Catholic school. And then I thought, okay, my mum's going to give me have me out. Of course, I'm not quiet when these things happen. I'm like, well, she looked like she was Italian or something. I said, I'm from Australia. Where are you from? So it became this, a short dialogue between us. And then I, just, left. Okay, her to her way and me to my way. So then I waited for my mother for her response by the time we got home. And I was surprised. It was nice, my mother's response. She said, and this is after years of, getting used to me wearing, covering my face. She said, I wish I had have responded to the lady. She said, I wish I had have said to her, I want to see you in 10 years' time when one of your daughters is on drugs, one of them becomes gay, and one of them becomes Muslim. I want to see you. This is life. People choose different paths.
SubhanAllah.
So yeah, that was I think my mum, she's maybe been through a lot that she feels.
SubhanAllah.
So that was really interesting, her response. But I have also had people come up and say to me, like they look past the appearance, and they come up to me and say, look, I really appreciate you. I appreciate how you're trying to educate your daughters, and they can see that I'm trying to be a good person.
Yeah.
So I'm only trying to be the best Muslim I can be, and that's to have the best character that I can have.
Alhamdulillah. So how did you? I mean, Sister, so how did you come to be living in Saudi Arabia?
Okay, after about a year, just after I started wearing niqab, actually, I was
Mm-hmm.
informed that there is one scholar from Saudi Arabia who's
Mm-hmm.
looking to get married.
Okay.
And yeah, so it was arranged.
Alhamdulillah. Great. MashaAllah. So how long have you been living out there?
I've been back to Australia several times, so I travelled back and forth a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. But probably about 15 years here altogether.
SubhanAllah, that's amazing. Wow. So like obviously like being a revert and living in Saudi, how did you find like the cultural difference? I'm assuming that you preferred Saudi because of the ease of being able to practice your religion freely, but as an Australian and somebody who's used to particular things like culturally, how did you find that cultural difference?
Yeah, and I suppose that it's going to, there's cultural difference whether it's here or it's there. In any place, different people from all over the world have their different cultures.
Mm.
Malaysia, had a very strong culture, in Indonesia, and so, and I had to, because I had travelled a little bit and I got to know different people from different backgrounds, so it wasn't too much of a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
There are tests here. It is very difficult. It was very difficult sometimes. It felt sometimes lonely being at home, not being able to drive, not being able to go to places. Now, of course, that's changed to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
But the way I see it is this life is a test.
Yeah, of course.
Test us wherever we are. Okay, if I go to Australia, my test is my religion.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm here, okay, my religion's easy. But my
Mm-hmm.
test is maybe the people, maybe the
Mm.
system, maybe the environment, maybe family, maybe in-laws, children, whatever. There will always be a test. So yeah, we just need to be patient. Just try to do what pleases Allah in every situation.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. So what's been your experience so far? I mean, you say you travel back and forth often to Australia. So like what's your experience with traveling on the plane and things like that, wearing the niqab?
It's been sometimes humorous, and sometimes it's been, a pleasant experience.
Okay. So can you share one pleasant and one humorous for us?
Yeah, both of them I was traveling from Australia. These are both eventful. Um, um, Both these times. Okay, one time I was traveling from Australia, and the lady, okay, she spotted me and she said, "Oh, we're going to check you."
Okay.
So she's giving me the full pat down at the
Mm-hmm.
airport. And I'm sorry, I just have to make fun of every situation. So I said,
Mm-hmm.
"Well, look, free massage before I fly."
MashaAllah.
So I'm not sure. I don't know if that's because of my religion, the way I look, or what have you. And another time, was it the last time I came back? Was a really it was a really nice experience. So I'm coming through, the lady at the counter coming
Mm-hmm.
through immigration on the way out. She saw me. She spotted me as soon as I've come in the room. She's pretty much directly come straight up to me and said, "Would you like to come over to the side to do your screening?"
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Okay, thank you very much." So I got to skip the whole queue, got given priority screening on the side, and so that was very thoughtful, and that was very nice of them. So that was a really nice experience at the same place.
Alhamdulillah. Great. MashaAllah. So have you obviously you living in Saudi Arabia. For me personally, sometimes like people when they see me with niqab, they'll ask. I've been asked before, am I from Saudi? Yeah. So you get that sometimes, and often, especially like you mentioned before, people they say like, "Oh, go back to your country" and all those kind of things. Like a lot of the time, people think that because you're covering your face, you must be from Saudi, and this is even from some Muslims. I've experienced this as well. They assume they assume that I'm not from like the UK because I'm wearing the niqab. Okay, I've experienced that personally. So yeah, like do you know anybody that's living in Saudi Arabia? Like, have you met any sisters who are forced to wear the niqab, or have you met any sisters who do want to wear it, but they have been prevented from wearing it. Because I know that in Saudi, like, it's very common that sisters usually cover their faces, and it's like a cultural thing as well, obviously.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I wouldn't be able to say that, you know, there must be, you know, like people here that are forced, you know, especially the younger generation. They want their freedom. They don't want their religion. There, you know, there is a lack of belief, you know, in some of the younger generations, and of course must be the older generations as well. But and I'm actually living in a very conservative town, where almost everybody wears niqab. The only people that when they take it off is like when they go to the main city, Jeddah, for shopping or family visits, they will take off their niqab. But generally inside the city, they wear their niqab. So, you know, there's a segment here, you know, of the, you know, younger generation that probably are forced, let's say. But that's a cultural thing, and those family issues. I mean, here now in Saudi Arabia, it's not a legal requirement for women to cover their face. Yeah, it's just a part of the life here, and I've discussed, you know, the topic of freedom, and you know, and how that can protect, you know, the rights of, you know, the society and citizens in particular. But that's another issue anyway. As for have people ever, like in Australia? Yeah, I remember there was one lady, she used to wear niqab, but when she got married, her husband forbade her from wearing it, so she had to take it off.
SubhanAllah.
Oh, it goes both ways.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Thing, isn't it?
Yeah, SubhanAllah. Yeah, I remember meeting a sister from Saudi Arabia. I was doing an English course, and basically, mashallah, when I met her, like I was wearing niqab. So, and she said to me, "Oh yeah, I love my country better than this country, because in my country the women, they have to wear abaya, but in this country the women, they just wear anything." And she was sitting there and she had a scarf on, and she was wearing like tight jeans and a jumper, and I just thought, well, you could still wear abaya here if you wanted to wear abaya. You know, but like obviously for her it was a cultural thing, and at those times I didn't really know much about like kind of the rules and the cultural elements of like being in Saudi Arabia, because I've never I hadn't really met many sisters from Saudi Arabia, and I had a close friend from Saudi Arabia, but she was mashallah, she used to wear niqab and everything, but apart from her I hadn't met other sisters really to have like that much interaction with them, so I didn't want to assume that everybody's like exactly like how my friend was, you know what I mean? So that was quite strange for me as well, like when she said that, because I just thought, well, you know, you can still wear abaya in England, you can wear what you want. But she'd obviously chosen to not wear the abaya here. But then she said that's the reason why she prefers her country, because you have to wear it over there. So I thought that was strange. Like, it's like almost preferring that you're forced to wear it rather than just being free to choose to wear it for the sake of your religion.
Yeah, so this is just ignorance, you know, like some people, they're just not aware, like, you know, they think that they have to. And well, sometimes people are too overwhelmed with self-consciousness that they feel that they have to, you know, fit in.
Yeah.
So whereas, you know, I mean, to wear niqab in a non-Muslim country, you have to go beyond, you know, self-consciousness. That's when, you know, that's when you have to, you know, this is when you become God conscious. You know?
Yeah, of course, yeah. So, sister, what does the niqab mean to you?
It means, to me, modesty. It's just, you know, it is an element of modesty within the society. I mean, when I first started, before I started wearing niqab, I'm living with my family. Of course, they're non-Muslims. Men are coming in and out of the house. I'm covering my, you know, I'm wearing my abaya my abaya, and just with a scarf. And the men, they're coming up, they're talking, they're chatting. It's like there was nothing. And with no disrespect to my Muslim brothers, that was also happening in the Muslim society as well. So they're chatting, they feel happy to chat with me, and oh, how are you going, and what are you doing, and you know, where are you from, and it was very easy for them to come and chat and be friends, and I feel that this is not, you know, what my religion is teaching me, that I should be friends with all of these people and smiling and chatting, and you know, this is, you know, it's against what I was being taught about my religion, about, you know, the women being modest except with her husband and her family. And so when I made that decision, based on knowledge, when I made the decision to wear the niqab based on knowledge, I felt I got respect. I felt now I was being respected, and that's by the non-Muslims and the Muslims. The non-Muslims, when they come and visit, they give me my space. They won't come and sit and chat with me, like, you know, just having a beer, having a drink, like they are with their friends. They will give me this respect. Muslims as well, they would lower their gaze, they would step back, they would make way. I felt this level of respect that just wasn't there before. It was amazing. But one of the greatest benefits that I have found from wearing niqab is I feel that my heart is clean. And this isn't about wearing niqab. This is about lowering the gaze. Because if we're sitting and watching movies on, or say videos, lectures, even if you're sitting, you're watching lectures, you're seeing people, and when those people are around you in your society, sometimes our heart gets attached. This is shaitan. This is a natural thing. We're used to, for example, before I was a Muslim, there would be a gathering, you know, me and a partner and another couple, and you know your partner, and you know what's going on, and you know all the pitfalls with them. And then you see this other person, oh, they're perfect. Shaitan's making them look perfect to you, you know. So your heart starts inclining to them.
Of course, yeah.
And there's nothing, there's no touch, there's no conversation. This is just in the mind. This is just, so this happens between men and women. This is just a natural part of our makeup, and that this is our test, that shaitan has the ability to, you know, to whisper like this. But when you cut that off, you wear niqab, you lower your gaze, you don't carry on, you know, chatty conversations with other people, with other men, people of the opposite sex, and this protects your heart. You don't have these whispers come in and say, oh, look how nice this one is, and my husband's like this, and you see. Yeah. So I really felt that this was one of the greatest benefits, was the purity, you know, the cleanliness of my heart after that.
Alhamdulillah, mashallah. Sister, I wanted to ask you, actually, I wanted to go back to asking you about your course that you're studying. You said you're doing digital design. What made you want to get into that?
I've been looking for work over here in Saudi Arabia for quite some time, and I found it quite difficult. The only work I was actually able to get was, and this is qadr Allah subhanAllah. If I had have had everything that I have wanted in this life, I'd probably be out shopping and wearing nice clothes and have a house full of lovely things. But Allah has decreed for me something else. So I ended up studying Islamic religious studies, basic studies. So I ended up finding work at the local dawa center, a very, you know, a humble wage, alhamdulillah. So I've always been looking for work. So if I had a good income, I could give more sadaqah, I could do more in the field of dawa. But I was never able to find work. Recently, the dawa centers closed down the female sections, many of the female sections of the. They're trying to Americanize the country, which means, you know, get rid of most of most things like that. Anyway, get rid of most of the education centers. Many Islamic education centres have been closed down, except main universities. The tahfidh centres are still running. So needing work. So I decided to do digital design because that's something I just really enjoy.
Alhamdulillah. MashaAllah. So obviously that's online as well.
Yeah, that's online from Australia. So I'm from Australia.
Oh, okay. All right, good. Alhamdulillah. So you get good contacts from Australia as well with the course, I take it.
contact. I don't know where I interact with the students, and
Yeah.
so that's great.
Well, khair, inshallah. May Allah put barakah in it for you, sister. Ameen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course I have all my friends, the years I spent in Australia, many of the new converts and friends I have back there. So it's nice to go and see them occasionally as well.
Alhamdulillah. So do you do any, like, obviously you said you studied at Islamic, you did some Islamic studies and stuff like that. Do you do like lectures or some type of lessons for other sisters?
When I was working for the Dawa Center, yeah, I used to give the Islamic
Okay.
the lessons, teaching new Muslims mostly. Before it closed down, we sort of felt that they were going to start closing things down. And at that stage, I started putting my lessons onto YouTube.
Right.
I started making audio videos, and so that's where I spend most of my time. Teaching others just through videos.
Alhamdulillah.
Sometimes topics which come up, sometimes curriculum. Trying to get everything that I have done onto the website. It's taking time.
Alhamdulillah. So you've got a website and also a YouTube channel.
Yes, it's just a basic WordPress website, just to collate all of the lessons together in one easy place.
Okay, and you're still teaching now?
Channel up. I do lessons. So the only thing I'm doing now is creating the videos,
right?
And then uploading them and then sharing them amongst the society and social media.
Okay, inshallah. Well, inshallah, we'll have put the link to those in the description for this interview, so that people can get access if they're interested. Inshallah, they can benefit.
And may Allah accept, the effort that we make to share the message, and may Allah forgive us for all our shortcomings.
Ameen, ameen. So, sister, to end the interview, can I ask you, what would you advise to any sisters who are thinking of wearing the niqab?
Yeah. Okay, so for sisters that are looking to wear the niqab, I think that you need to consider your circumstances first. If you're in Australia, if you're living with non-Muslim family, if you need to work, you're a new Muslim, then you need to really consider, because I don't think it's respectful for yourself or for the niqab itself that people put it on and take it off. I know I did that, and I know people do that, but I think it should be a serious commitment and a reasonable commitment. Sometimes we have a tendency to do things just on the spur of the moment without giving it really deep thought. So people, I think they should think about their circumstance. Are they going to be able to commit to that? But I think if Allah has put in your circumstances a way to wear it, where it's not going to prohibit you from work or cause a problem with your family. For example, there are some people, like in India, if they become Muslim, their families will kill them. So in those circumstances, they shouldn't even cover their hair. They should hide their religion.
Yes, subhanallah.
So people need to think about their circumstances. But otherwise, I really recommend making this move. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has asked, the wives to cover, and of course the believers. And if we really want to do what pleases Allah, and work to have that really pure heart, then I think this is a great step, and I would encourage all sisters to take this step.
Inshallah. Jazakallah khair, sister. Thank you so much for giving your time for us today for the podcast, and I've really enjoyed speaking to you and hearing your story.
Yeah, Ken, it's been a pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Jazakallah khair, sister. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.